Economics Today, where we debate current events and issues through the macroeconomic lens. We hope these debates will be edifying as well as entertaining. It is our aim to disagree without being disagreeable so that the discussion will continue and more thoughtful solutions to modern problems will be discovered. Our teams present two sides of the topic so that you, the viewing audience, will be better informed. The format of these debates follow a modified classical debate style. The topic has been chosen from an affirmative statement that is made. The pro team takes the podium first and has 3 minutes to present the strongest arguments in support of the statement. The con team then has 3 minutes to present the arguments which negate the statement. Both teams then alternate at 90-second intervals, followed by 1-minute closing statements by each side. Visuals may be introduced at any point during the presentation. Scoring of these debates cover 8 measurable categories and are more heavily weighted toward content than technique. However, it probably goes without saying that the effectiveness of the presentation is often what wins the day, especially in a close debate.
Thank you. Our first topic today on Economics Today is Occupy Albany. Dateline Albany. Organizers of the Occupy Albany protests say they expect hundreds of demonstrators from around the state and organized labor groups to join them for a rally at the Albany Park where they are camping. Buses are scheduled to arrive shortly before noon today, carrying demonstrators from Buffalo, Rochester, and other encampments around the state. Organizers say they will be followed by a march in downtown Albany. Demonstrators plan to deliver letters and petitions to Governor Andrew Cuomo and State Senate to make their voices heard. Protesters have camped in the city's Academy Park since October 21. Today's debate focuses on the issue of who should establish the limitations of a peaceful protest, the people or the government. First, the pro team argues in favor of a free market solution to this problem. They'll be using classical economic theory to persuade us that the protesters themselves and the property owners in the vicinity are the ones to self-regulate the market. Next, the con team argues against that 24/7 physical protest. They'll be relying on Keynesian economic theory to support their position and to persuade us that government-imposed limitation in this case is better than a self-regulated citizenry. Let's hear what they have to say.
The first Occupy movement of our country was Wall Street, and the movements have slowly spread around our country and the world. There have been hundreds of Occupy movements since the very first movement that happened in Europe. The Occupy movement does not have a central system behind it, but more of a variety of people have come together to say enough is enough, and they want their voices to be heard. What would you say? Do you like paying taxes? None of us do, but we accept that it must happen, right? But there is a better way. Some are fed up with our tax system. Assets and wealth have been going to the top 1% of our population, and there needs to be some fairness established in our tax system. Some are fed up with the war in Afghanistan and government spending. Some feel if we stop the war and relocate our money spending toward developing green jobs, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. 58% of Americans are unhappy with our country's politics. 1/3 of Americans support the Occupy movements, and people are standing together in support of these issues, and others are beginning to listen. People outside of the movements either get it or they don't, and people who don't want to hear from the people within the movement to define it to them. They want to understand their demands. Some people who don't understand ask, how can you attain what you want without a common goal? And the people within the movement would respond with, our goal is to get people to wake up and stand up for themselves. Our goal is to get people to rethink their basic assumptions. Our goal is to demand institutions to be moral and humane. Our goal is to bring people together, and our goal is to speak the truth. And we will obtain these goals through our movement and taking advantage of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, through our freedom of speech and our freedom of assembly. The Occupy movement is not just about banks, unemployment, and being radical. It's about questioning the churches, the universities, the press, artists, human rights organizations, and political parties. It's about questioning our basic assumptions of our institutions and our society. The Occupy movement is not about simply fixing these problems, but fixing our system as a whole. It's about preventing problems like these from ever happening again and finding a better way. And a better way will not happen without asking for change in the government, without upholding the right to free speech, the right to protest, and the right to have a voice. If you ever want to make a statement, if you ever have an idea and want it to be heard, I hope that you still have that right. But if you say Occupy Albany isn't right, I beg you to see how it is the living version of what our constitutional rights are.
What is Occupy Albany and all these other Occupy movements? Well, personally, I feel that they are extremely unorganized. They don't have any defined goals, and there is no plan for reconstruction. There's constantly changing goals and desires, and there's no plan to enact these changes or to regulate them. The potential for violence and unrest The potential for violence and unrest happens more and more every day, such as in Occupy Oakland. The Occupy movements are against the free market, but that means more government control, and they're disorganized. They're looking for change, but that complete control is socialism or no control. They're not really sure what they want. The right to protest is the right for the government to associate with businesses. These people don't want businesses to associate with the government. They don't want the government to be able to accept monetary gifts from these businesses. They're looking for job placement and training programs, which have proved to be insufficient under Obama's administration. And they're looking to remove all troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, which would leave a broken infrastructure, which could leave room for another dictator and another attack on American soil. They're also looking for a lower federal interest rate, which really can't go any lower at this current point in time. It's already at an all-time low. And Occupy Albany is pretty insignificant at this point. Why? Because, well, who's making this change? The government. Where's the government located? Washington, D.C. Why are they protesting in Albany? Yeah, the state government's here, but state government can't really do anything in the long run. It's all about the federal government. Wall Street and D.C., those movements can be heard around the world because they're bigger and they're where everything must take place in order for the governments to realize that businesses are really messing up right now.
The Occupy movements aim to be the voice of the 99% of Americans that are not part of the political class and have been shut out of access to the government. The other 1% represents the wealthy, some who have become rich because of bank bailouts and inflationary monetary policies. This reinforces one of the points that the protesters are trying to prove, which is the record high level of inequality that the United States has seen in a while. The 1% has control of the government, while the working class suffers from their corruption in the form of unemployment and lack of say in the government. The protesters speak out for change in the corruption of politics. In New York City, Mayor Blumenberg evicted protesters of the Occupy movement in Zuccotti Park. Beyond the fact of this being unconstitutional by going against the freedom of assembly, having a billionaire mayor evict average American citizens who demand an end to the out-of-control business or control of income inequality and lack of opportunity only highlights and reinforces the problem. Just recently in Albany, protesters of the movement were evicted and arrested for the 24-hour devotion to the issue when they were being completely peaceful. So I ask you, are they wrong for speaking out? Should the government really be allowed to take away their rights as citizens and silence them? Beyond what they're trying to, regardless of what they're trying to prove, it's the point that they should be able to speak their feelings and what their opinion is.
As much as the Occupy Albany movement helps the middle class, the 99% that they are advertising, it's not going to do anything to, occupy Albany. What's going to happen is that the government should intervene because it could end up just like Occupy Oakland, where violence runs rampant throughout this, ran rampant throughout the city, and now the city almost lays in ruins. We don't really want that in Albany. What that would do is just put more financial stress on the taxpayers of New York, and it would, in reality, set us back to where in the end, the Occupy Albany movement would not help. The right to protest is there, yes, but I mean, that also gives the, what was I going to say? Even though that they have the right to protest, the state is doing what's best for the state is doing what's best for the rest of the state. The police and the government is doing what's best for the state. They're just trying to make it so that everything runs smooth and that there isn't any trouble in the state.
He said it best himself. There is the right to protest. The Constitution is based off of classical economist thoughts and theories. The Constitution was written on the belief that Americans are here for a reason, for a purpose. We're here because we like to speak out. We like our voices to be heard. We like the fact that we can go to a park, a public park, that is paid by us, for us, taxpayers, pay for the right for those people to be there. They pay, you pay, we all pay through our tax and our checks that are through the government. So if we want to go and we want to establish our assembly and our right to protest in front of the Capitol, you said it yourself, the right to protest is there. And the 14th Amendment upholds the right to assemble in peaceably. DeJong versus Oregon in 1937, the Supreme Court upheld the right to protest peaceably through the assembly. And you said it best yourself when, if you know where your tax dollars are going and you have a problem with that, if you want to stand up and speak out, you should be able to, and that's what we are here to say. That's our debate, and they got the right to be there. Whatever their reasons for being there, well, they have their reasons. If it's against the war of Afghanistan, so be it. The point is, they have a right to be there. We all pay for that public park, and the government should not interfere with peaceable protests. Thank you.
What have the Occupy movements accomplished? Nothing. They're standing around in a park. They're not accomplishing anything. Unfortunately, they do have the right to protest, but who are they protesting for? Who are they protesting against? What are they even protesting? Their ideas are so disorganized, they can't even come up with a simple solution of how to attain what they want, where they want it, and where they want to go with what they're trying to protest. Yeah, their park is their park. Let them sit in their park. But what are they doing? They're not doing anything. They're costing the state more money every day. Police activity, the government is just trying to keep everything cool, keep everyone calm, and that's really all that needs to happen. Everyone stays calm, cool, vote. Everyone has the right to vote, so why not vote for what you want? Why do you have to go and sit in a park? Like, I don't know, doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, Occupy Albany, all these Occupy movements, pretty dumb if you ask me, just a huge waste of time, bunch of hippies, doesn't really work out.
Some thoughtful comments on the debate. Thank you very much.